Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3776 and today's date is November 17th, 2025, and the title of the episode is The Private Western Central Bank is the Root of All Evil. Start the clock on Bitcoin. Now, we've all seen the headlines that talk about Ozempic and similar miracle weight loss shots, but what most people don't realize is this. A major analysis just found out that people who stop taking these weight loss injections gain nearly all their weight back within a year. That's the catch. These drugs only work while you're on them. They're expensive, and the moment you stop, your body fights back. This is why I like BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate, and everyone is obsessed with the weight management results I've seen with it. It helps my body naturally trigger the same hunger-controlling, craving-reducing signals that Ozempic would, but without needles, prescriptions, or the scary side effects. It also promotes fullness, helps reduce hunger hormones, supports fat loss instead of muscle loss, and helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels. For a limited time, you can grab a bag of BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate for 40% off only at trimwithx22.com. Plus, you'll also receive a 60-day satisfaction guarantee and free express shipping on subscriptions. Once again, go to trimwithx22.com to get this deal now, or just click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, they are losing every single day, and they will continue to lose. Because Trump and the Patriots, they're now building the new economic system, and it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And as it gets stronger and stronger, what it's going to do, it's actually going to show the people of this country, the people of the world, how evil the central bank system really is. And I do believe what people are going to see is that the central bank system was a detriment to this country and to the world. And people are going to start to realize that that system that we've been in for a very long time needs to come to an end. And I do believe Trump and the Patriots, what they're doing right now is they're building both sides so people can see the difference. One, you have the central bank system, and that side people can see very clearly. They've been living it every single day. On the other side, you have the parallel economic system that Trump is creating right now, and people are starting to learn about that, and they're starting to experience the new system. And as time goes on, I do believe people are going to experience more of the new system, and the people are going to say, you know something, this new system is so much better. And you have to remember, without Trump creating this tariff system, without him lowering energy prices, without him selling energy across the world, without him selling technology across the world, without him bringing the manufacturers back to this country would be in a recession, depression right now, because that's what the deep state, the central bankers actually really wanted. They wanted the entire system to crash, and they're still trying to do this. But every step of the way, what they're trying to do is completely and utterly failing right now. And you could see that they're going to try to bring down Bitcoin. They're going to try to bring down gold. They're going to try to crash the market. They're going to try to do all of these things. And in the end, what is going to happen? You're going to see Bitcoin rise like we've never seen before. We're going to see gold move up like we've never seen before. We're going to see the stock market move up like we've never seen before. Why? Because Trump is creating the new system. And soon you're going to see the new system and everything else that goes along with it break away from the central bank system. And they will not be able to stop it. Now, of course, they're going to try to stop it before it gets that far. But once again, it's not going to work, and it's not going to end too well for the deep state, the central bankers. And you can see every step of the way what Trump is doing right now. He's preparing the country to wean ourselves off of the central bank system. And will we need the IRS the way we know it today? Absolutely not. Because remember, instead of taking the internal revenue, he's going to be taking the external revenue. And every step of the way, what I do believe he's going to do, just like he already started to do this, he's going to wean us off the central bank, wean us off the IRS. Remember, he already started with no tips on taxes, no tips on overtime, no tips on Social Security. You're going to see an incredible tax return in 2026. And as time goes on, you're going to see how he's going to continually wean us off of the internal revenue system that they have developed. And right now, Trump has decided that Donald Korb, who served in the Bush administration from 2004 to 2008, will no longer be the nomination for the IRS. He withdrew the nomination. And this is what he put out on Truth. Please be advised that I am withdrawing the nomination of Donald Korb to be Assistant General Counsel in the Department of Treasury. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And it turns out that this individual is a Obama donor. And I think Trump found out this is not the guy that we need here. And he is now saying, okay, he's not going to do what I want him to do. He's going to do everything opposite of what I want him to do. So this is not the person for the IRS, because I do believe the person or the people that he is bringing in now into the central bank, the people that he wants in the IRS, I do believe he needs these people to actually close down the IRS and restructure the central bank system moving forward. It's almost like the Department of Education, if you really think about it. You needed a person in there that was going to actually dismantle and close the Department of Education. The same thing with the USAID. The same thing is going to happen to the IRS. The same thing is going to happen to the central bank system. And when you look at this country right now, you could see the difference between the blue states and the red states, which we mentioned just a day ago, where you can see the difference in the fuel prices in the blue states and the red states. And with all these red states moving forward with the Green New scam and using the DE policies, you can see that those states, they're not doing too well. Those states, it feels like a recession in those states. And as they keep driving their policies, it's just going to get worse and worse in those states. The Kobisi letter on X put this out and said, America's reality. Asset owners are living in the best economy of their lives. Everyone else feels like we're in a recession. There are two economies in the U.S., asset owners versus everyone else. And if you look at California, if you look at Oregon, if you look at Washington, if you look at Kansas, if you look at Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, if you look at all these different areas, you can see they're having a very difficult time. And if you look at the other areas like Florida, Texas, if you look at North Carolina, Oklahoma, Indiana, North Dakota, you see that these states are doing pretty darn well. And I do believe you're starting to see a separation of these states, and you're starting to see that those policies that these other states are following, and I'm not saying every blue state is following the policies of the deep state players. Some are not. But those states that are, they are destroying themselves, and it's going to just get worse and worse and worse. And since Trump now is placing tariffs on automobile manufacturers, placing tariffs on many other products, and trying to bring the manufacturers back to this country, which he is doing. And we're seeing that Ford is creating and building manufacturing plants in this country. We see that Ford now has made a deal with Amazon, and the Kobisi letter put this out, to sell certified used cars directly on Amazon's website. So this is really going to give a very big boost to the certified used cars in Ford. And you're going to start to see that Ford is really going to start to pick up with their sales. Now, as we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned is that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan, it's a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans protect themselves and the people they love by diversifying their wealth with gold and silver. Look, no one knows what 2026 will bring, but one thing's for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth isn't digital. It's physical, it's lasting, and it's yours. So when you're sitting around the table this holiday season, surrounded by family, remember the best gift you can give isn't under the tree, it's peace of mind. And that's what Noble Gold delivers. Peace of mind, 1 ounce at a time. Before the year ends, take one smart step toward a safer future. Visit X22Gold.com and get your free wealth protection kit today. That's X22Gold.com. Don't leave your future to chance, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. And this is absolutely going to be absolutely incredible as we move forward, because once again, Trump is revitalizing the entire manufacturing industry in this country. And you can see that Trump, what he wants to do is he wants the people to get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. And he wants people to make more money and keep their hard-earned money. And he wants to remove inflation, which is the devaluation of the currency, which has to do with the central bank system. Eric Doherty put this out and said, President Trump is set to fire off a blizzard of economic policy announcements to make life cheaper for Americans. He's going all in on affordability. New efforts to address higher mortgage rates, reducing tariffs on a range of food and agricultural products, more deals with pharma companies to make prescription drugs cheaper. This is huge, and it will be huge. Now, think about it. He knows at this point he can actually stop inflation or minimize inflation from going up. So instead of 8-9%, he's going to minimize that to 2%, 1%, and hopefully maybe 0%. He knows he can't get past, he can't get rid of, I should say, all the inflation that's been accumulated since 1971, since we came off the gold standard. You just don't get rid of it unless you pay off the debt. But can he counter it? Absolutely. How can he counter it? Well, he can bring manufacturers back to this country. He can have the manufacturers create the products. He can remove the regulations, and he can bring the energy prices very, very low. This way, the delivery, the production costs, and everything else, it becomes much, much lower than it was before. And this will assist people in managing the inflation. Plus, if he's lowering the energy prices, what happens at the gas pump? Well, it costs a lot less to fill up there. Now, include no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, and all the tax refunds that people are going to get in 2026. This is how you counter the central bank inflation. Then, add on top of all of that, the 2000 dividend. You see, they're trying to convince everyone that it's a stimulus. It's not stimulus. It's a dividend. Stimulus is when you create the currency from the central bank and you give it to the people, and you have to pay that money back. Because again, it's being loaned to us. We're borrowing that currency with interest attached. Trump is not doing that. He's created a tariff system, and every time these countries want to take their products and bring them into this country, there is a fee, and they have to pay that fee. And we, the people, collect that money. We don't add to the inflation. We're not borrowing that currency. And Trump says, for doing business with the United States, you know what? That money should go to the people. They get a dividend. Just like if you bought a stock, you get a dividend on that stock. So Trump, he is now countering the entire central bank system. Because once again, we know the central bank system is what? It is the root of all evil. And Colonel Towner Watkins put this out, and it's a thread about the central bank, the Federal Reserve. And it begins with, is the Federal Reserve the largest money laundering facilitator in the world? Let's look into some very interesting coincidences. There is a documented historical correlation between surges in U.S. dollar cash demand, Federal Reserve money printing, and expansion in illicit drug economies, particularly during periods of so-called monetary crisis. Just look at the savings and loan implosions being linked to drug money laundering is well supported by declassified government reports, congressional hearings, and investigative journalism. The global illicit drug trade, cocaine, heroin, meth, is heavily cash-based and overwhelmingly uses U.S. dollars, even outside the U.S. DEA estimates $300 to $500 billion in drug proceeds annually, with 60 to 70% in physical U.S. dollars, per 1990s and 2000s Kerry Committee and GOA reports. Cartels hoard U.S. dollars cash in bulk. Example, $207 million in cash seized from a single Mexican cartel safe house in 2007. The Federal Reserve is aware of this correlation and is a main player in facilitating it. In the 80s, Miami Federal Reserve had more cash on hand facilitating illicit drug trafficking than others combined. The Fed doesn't just print inflation, it prints to replace worn bills and meet global demand. M1 currency in circulation has exploded even during low inflation periods. 1980s, approximately 120 billion. 1990, 250 billion. 2000, 500 billion. 2020, 2 trillion. 2025, 2.4 trillion. Key observation, over 70% of U.S. $100 bills are held overseas. Fed's own estimates, 2023 spikes in $100 bill demand have repeatedly coincided with drug trade expansion, 80s cocaine boom, massive $100 bill printing. And when you really look at this, you could see the Federal Reserve is a gigantic loan shark system, money laundering system. And this is why our founding fathers from the very, very beginning never wanted a private central bank. This is why the first one that they snuck in here, the charter ran out. They said never again. Well, it happened again. And Andrew Jackson ran on the platform of getting rid of the central bank. And of course, they took a shot at him, but he finally got rid of it. Now we've had a central bank since 1913. We went full fiat in the 70s. They took full control in the 2008 crisis. And now Trump, he's going to remove the third private central bank system in this country. And I do believe he will be very, very successful. Now, everyone can see that Bitcoin has dropped quite a bit. Actually, this is a very nice buying opportunity, in my opinion. And when you really look at this, over 900 million in leverage positions were liquidated since November 15th, with longs taking the brunt. So what we're seeing is we're starting to see a lot of people, they're starting to liquidate. And spot Bitcoin ETFs saw net outflows of about 1.1 billion over the past 48 hours, the largest weekly redemption since March of 2025, driven by institutions like BlackRock, IBIT, and Fidelity's FBTC. This reversed months of inflows that had propped up prices earlier this year. So yes, we're seeing a drop. We're seeing those individuals that are dabbling in ETFs, they're now getting out, which means there's going to be more and more people getting into Bitcoin because the price has come down. And I do believe every time you see a dip like this, in my personal opinion, what do? You go in and you purchase more. Because when you start to look back in time in history, you could see what the central bankers, the deep state players tried to do. They tried to force people away from it all. And actually, this allows even those individuals to get back in with actual Bitcoin at a cheaper price. Very, very interesting. But we also see this with gold, because once again, when gold is suppressed, and they do want both of the alternative currencies suppressed, this way you really can't notice that, hey, the fiat currency is worth absolutely nothing. Because again, if Bitcoin kept going up to 200,000, which I do believe it's going to continually rise, and gold was at $10, $15, $20, $25,000, people would know right off the bat that the fiat currency is really worth nothing. But what they do is they keep the illusion alive, and they make people believe that the fiat currency is holding its strength, which it is not. This is why they had to manipulate gold and silver from the very, very beginning. But it looks like the manipulation is not holding the way they thought it was going to hold. And you can see that gold now is actually moving up continuously. Yes, it might drop. But again, I do believe that gold is going to make new highs. I do believe silver is going to make new highs, in my opinion, because as the central bank system continually breaks down, and as Trump makes the parallel system stronger and stronger and stronger, I do believe that people are going to see the difference. And as people see the difference, I think people are going to start to realize that the central bank system, well, it doesn't really help the people. It doesn't benefit the people. It actually destroys the country. And any country that has a central bank, it actually ends up destroying the country because, again, we're borrowing that currency and we have to repay it with interest attached, which means that does not benefit the people whatsoever. And I do believe this is why our founding fathers put in the Constitution that we must coin our own money. And I do believe Trump, the Patriots, what he is doing right now, he's creating this parallel economic system to compete with the central bank, to go up against the central bank, because we need a way to bring in income. And I do believe once he gets the Supreme Court ruling, I do believe that the central bank is going to have a very, very difficult time. And I do believe that Trump will be able to then move much, much quicker in weaning us off the central bank system. Now, I'm not saying he's going to wean us completely off before the midterms, because I do believe he needs Congress to assist in what he wants to do. And that is to place new laws on the books and maybe add a couple of amendments. So this way we never have the central bank system ever again. And I do believe this is where all of this is headed. And I do believe we're going to get there, because you could see every day that passes, Trump is making this economic system stronger and stronger and stronger. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.